when we're talking at brunch, we talk a lot about Star Wars, and we talk about whether or not we're satisfied just being moisture farmers, or if we need to step in and help out. And I think in some ways I'm content being a moisture farmer, and in other ways I'm not. Being content as a moisture farmer, well, obviously Luke Skywalker was a moisture farmer on Tatooine. A little bit of backstory. And then he was just like, I don't want to be a moisture farmer anymore. I'm going to go try and blow up the Death Star. So then he did. Well, Obi-Wan came and said, you're going to be a Jedi. Yes. But for me, I kind of am content being a moisture farmer. But I want to not be. Because then I would be getting out into the world and actually trying to make a difference and change things that need to be changed. For me personally, as I'm just sitting on like Facebook or something, I'm seeing all these kinds of posts, and I'm wishing that I had actually gone out to. I'm seeing like protests for like Black Lives Matter and the science protests, or just various protests, and some of them I just wish that I had actually gone to them and didn't just sit home and not do anything about it. I've been to a couple protests down on the plaza. I went to the Women's March in 2017, and I went to the March for Our Lives in 2018, and those were fantastic. I felt like I was standing up for what I believed in and what others believed in and what was right. And I wish I could do more right now than just sitting on the sidelines watching. But what is our metaphorical Death Star in this situation? For me, I think our metaphorical Death Star is the rampant racism in this country. I mean, it's probably obviously more than just the Death Star, but that's just probably an example because that was where the Empire had their base of operations. So we had to get at their base of operations and by that logic, at least incapacitate them for at least a little bit so we can get ahead. By that logic, we could say that DC would be our Death Star. So we'd have to destroy DC. But I don't think we should do that, because that would be bad. But we could figure something out. We can vote. We can vote.
So a time I felt the pull between needing to step in and say something or staying silent and sort of going with the flow. I actually worked at a Christian summer camp for 2 summers, and I was paired up with a co-counselor who was telling me stuff that she was doing that was not what we as counselors were supposed to be doing. Some drugs and things like that. And when it was just affecting me, I stayed silent and just wanted to get through the week and get through the summer, and I was going to deal with it. But that week, I also had a CIT under my care who partway through the week came to me and told me she was feeling very uncomfortable with this other girl, and she was telling her stories that she was not comfortable with. And that's when I stepped in because I felt responsible for my CIT. Feeling responsible for someone, or like I need to protect someone, I guess, that's usually when I'll step in and speak up. But if it's just affecting me, I like to sort of try to go with the flow. It was such a good group of people, and I'm still best friends with some of the people that I met working at camp, and it was the group of people I needed to show up in my life at that time. And I didn't even know it at that point. Yeah, that we were a small camp, so it was a small group of counselors, but we were such a family, and I did feel like I needed to, and especially my CIT, sort of protect her and support her, and that family. But also I knew that, I mean, looking back, now I know that I felt that family and knew that they'd support me stepping in and speaking up.
For the better part of 5 years, I was an active volunteer firefighter in East Greenbush. And it was a lot of fun. Met some really nice people there. Learned a lot. I just recertified my EMT. So they're letting me be an EMT for 3 more years. And now the next step is getting hired in the professional fire department. People see fire and they go the other way, but I see fire and I go towards it. Well, the reason I wanted to be a firefighter is my grandfather back in the day was a volunteer firefighter and I wanted to be like him. So when I was 17, I went down to the local fire department and said, I want to join. I mean, I knew somebody who was there, so he helped me get in. And I've wanted to be a professional firefighter for as long as I can remember. So, I want to help people, make people's lives better.
I feel like living is not always not a choice that we make every day. It's kind of taken for granted most times. But participating, or even more, participating with enthusiasm, that's entirely optional. For some people, it comes naturally. For many, definitely doesn't. I'd say for most of my life, I would take that for granted, that if there's something going on, the answer would be yes, I'm doing it, and yes, I'm doing it with enthusiasm. But lately, after I'm at the point in my life when I kind of know what I'm doing, and I have a general flow at work and at home and day to day, I have to make conscious choices to actually step out, and I'm having to plan things ahead of time. I would say my biggest fear would be just putting in the bare minimum of work in relationships, in my work for God, whatever that is, any given month or year in my life, in work. And I think that's a very real option, and one that I don't want to take, but one that I might take, that I could see myself taking, that would be in character of me even. I'd say, a simpler example would be even at Westminster Church. I, have the choice of just showing up, putting my money in the offering, skipping out right at the end of it, never going to the second hour. And some weeks it sounds pretty appealing, I'll admit. So really, in life, it's this year and this current moment in my life, it's been finding opportunities and sometimes giving myself a kick in the butt when needed to say yes to things or put things together as needed. God still calls us to act. God still calls us to step out and do what it is, whether it is something on one of these big, social, global, economic, intractable problems, or something as simple as volunteering in your local food kitchen, or something even more simple of just making making it clear what you do stand for and what you don't stand for. At work, I might have a bit of a reputation as the person who doesn't tolerate gossip, and they're like, okay, well, Joey's here, we can't talk about this now, we'll talk about it another time. That's something people sort of joke about, but I guess it's true.